My name is Rina Yakamashi. I'm 28 years old. It's been 5 years since I last saw my husband and my baby daughter, so I've come to visit them. It's been a long time, and I wasn't able to keep in touch with them during that time, so I hope that it'll be a good surprise. Why has it been so long, you ask? Well, in order to explain the circumstances behind why we haven't had any contact, I'll have to tell you about myself and my husband and our only daughter. I met my husband Yuichi when we were both in college. We were on the same course and happened to be sitting next to each other during lectures. It's embarrassing to say this myself, but apparently it was love at first sight for him. But he wasn't really my type, and frankly, I wasn't interested in dating him. However, I've got to praise him for his effort. He worked harder than any other guy I've ever known to make me turn this way and give him a chance. Even before we started dating, he would shower me with presents for Christmas and for my birthday. They were all designer items, bought with money he had saved from his part-time job. I had grown up in a family that didn't have much money to pay for the bills, let alone buy luxuries, and I was raised with the idea that money was very precious and really hard to come by. Seeing him work so hard in order to buy things just for me, just to make me happy, made me like him more and more. And then, just before we graduated from college, we officially began dating. Yuichi got a job at a major company right after college, but unfortunately, I wasn't as lucky. I failed to pass all of the interviews I had gotten, and I couldn't help but feel despair about the coming future. But Yuichi didn't give up on me. He comforted me, even though he was so busy acclimating to his new environment. He cheered me on and encouraged me to try again. 6 months later, we realized that we were pregnant.
Rina, from now on, I want you to stay at home and be a housewife. I want you to do that for me and the baby. Can you do that for me?
And of course, I said yes. I thought that I should get a job and help earn money for the bills, but there was nothing else I could do if I was pregnant. That's why I gave up on having a career. I gave up for Yuichi's sake because he asked me to. I mean, I don't regret it. I thought that it was the best choice I could make for my husband's sake and for our beautiful daughter. I wanted to support him as a wife and be a wonderful full-time mother. I think that that's one way of making a difference in this world. And I believe that it was the only path to being happy as a woman. But reality was never going to be that simple. As our daughter got bigger and bigger, I could tell that Yuichi's attitude was becoming colder and colder towards me. For example, there was one time where, "Hey, Yuichi, I don't think we have enough money for the groceries this month. Do you think you could withdraw some more money for me?"
What happened to the money I gave you at the start of the month? Isn't that enough?
But it's not. I'm starting to wean her off of baby food, and I need to buy more ingredients so that I can make something balanced and healthy for her.
I think I gave you plenty. Yeah, but she's just a baby, not a giant. It's not like she needs to eat more than she did before. What else did you buy with the money I gave you? You better not have wasted any of it.
Seriously? You want me to report every single little thing I bought? I thought you said that you were going to trust me with all of the groceries and the housework. Why can't you believe in me?
Yeah, I said that, but do you really expect me to pull money out of thin air every time you ask me for more? I don't have it. We've got to save more money for the baby's future, too. Do you understand that? We don't have money to spare.
I understand, Yuichi. You don't have to treat me like I'm an idiot. But right now, what she needs is proper nutrition in all of her meals. And I want to buy her cute clothes to wear, too. I need more money because what you're giving me isn't enough.
Fine.
He didn't seem to like it, but he withdrew some more money for me to use on the groceries. However, it was after that argument that he began to come home later and later, and I couldn't help but suspect that it wasn't because of work. I confronted him about it, and, "Yuichi, are you cheating on me?"
What? Do you really think I have the time for that?
Then what else am I supposed to think? You come home late all the time and you're never here on the weekends. You never spend time with Sakura when you're here. She needs you. You're her daddy.
That's because I'm busy with work.
I've had enough. I can't take it anymore. I'm leaving.
Huh? Hey, Rena?
I packed a bag and left the house. I had hit my limit and needed space to myself. I was worried about my daughter and hated the idea of leaving her all on her own with Yuichi. But I felt that if I had to continue living like that with her for any longer, I was going to lose it. I had given everything up, only for my husband to demand more and more of me. I got dozens of phone calls from Yuichi after that, ordering me to come home and be a proper mother and to pull myself together. But that only pressured me even further. He didn't realize that he was making it harder for me to want to come home. That's why I decided to leave this town and to put some distance between myself and Yuichi and rethink my life. And now, 5 years later, I've come back. The reason is pretty simple. It's because I couldn't abandon my family. I wanted to see them again and be with them. I bet Yuichi and Sakura will be so happy to see me. This is going to be a great surprise. I can't wait to see the look on their faces. They'll be so relieved that I'm back. I can tell. I arrived at the front door of our house and rang the doorbell with butterflies in my stomach. It didn't take long for someone to come to the door, and I was sure that it must be Yuichi, waiting to welcome me home. I'm home. What? Who are you? The woman standing in front of me was a complete stranger. I had never seen her before. Who on earth are you? What are you doing here? Huh? Right at that moment, I heard a familiar voice coming from behind the woman and recognized it instantly. This time, it was Yuichi.
Nano? What's the matter?
I pushed the woman aside and walked further into the entrance. Yuichi, I'm so sorry I left you both for so long, but I'm home. I'm finally home.
What the? Rena?
Let's get back together again, honey. Where's Sakura? She must be so big.
What are you doing here? It's way too late for you to push your way into our lives again. I want you to leave.
How could you say something so cruel? I'm your wife. You should be happy to see me again. I'm finally back. Wife? Oh, so you're that, Rena? Figures. I looked over at the woman and glared at her. It's all this woman's fault, isn't it? Hey, you. What are you doing here? This is my husband's house. You don't belong here. I don't know who you are, but I want you out right this second. You're in the way.
You're the one that's going to leave, Rena. This is my wife, Nano. She has every right to be here.
What? What are you talking about? But I'm your wife. You can't marry her.
You're talking nonsense, Rena. Have you seriously forgotten everything that happened? You're creeping me out.
I couldn't understand any of the words that were coming out of Yuichi's mouth, and my jaw dropped open. For the entire 5 years I had been away, I had never once forgotten about Yuichi and had been thinking about him and Sakura, but it seems that...
Would you stop narrating that sob story of yours?
What's your problem? I was just getting to the good part. You've been playing the victim, like you're the heroine of a tragedy. But aren't you the one that threw the divorce papers in Yuichi's face after screaming at him that you couldn't live with him anymore? Not only that, you left to live with your boyfriend in the next town over and completely ignored Yuichi and Sakura for 5 whole years. You're the one that left and never came back. Well, yeah, I was the one that brought the divorce papers, but that doesn't mean that he had to actually go and file them. I'm going to get back together with Yuichi, and you're not going to stop me, thief.
My name is Yuichi. I was enjoying a slow, peaceful day with my wife Nano, my daughter Sakura, and my son Yuki at home. We were decorating the house to get ready for the Christmas season. Sakura is my daughter from a previous marriage, and she's not related to Nano by blood, but Nano doesn't treat her any differently from Yuki, who is our son. She loves them both equally, and Sakura loves her and looks up to her as her real mom, too. I've heard from Nano that she has an older brother who was raised to be the heir to the family business, but that she always came second in her parents' eyes as a result of that. She didn't feel as loved because of her parents' favoritism, and she swore to herself that she wouldn't ever do the same if she ever had children of her own. I admire her for her ability to stick by that resolution and for actually proving that she's a better parent than her own mother and father. My ex-wife was nowhere near as resolved to be such a good mother or a wife, so it's even more shocking that she's actually turned up at my front door after 5 years of no contact and even had the nerve to scream, "I'm home," the moment she walked through the door. On top of that, it's terrifying that she's conveniently forgotten everything she did and has completely erased all memory of what she said to me when I last saw her. Either way, I've got to do everything it takes to protect my family from her. It looks like you've managed to conveniently forget all of the events that you've decided aren't to your advantage. So why don't I help you take a trip down memory lane and give you a replay of everything you did to us? Maybe then you'll finally understand why you don't belong here anymore.
What did I do to deserve any of this?
How about we talk about what happened after we graduated from college? Right after entering college, I met Rena, who was taking the same classes as I was, and I fell in love with her the moment I saw her. I had been an introvert, the really nervous and negative kind, all through middle and high school, and didn't manage to make any friends during my final 6 years as a teenager. When I left high school, I told myself I would make at least one friend in college and was pretty worked up to meet that goal. However, after a few awkward interactions, I ended up sitting all alone in every lecture I attended. Until Rena called out to me when we were sat next to each other at a certain lecture. She asked me if I could share my notes with her, and I didn't realize that she was just using me to cover for her when she wanted to skip class until years later, until after she had disappeared. But I thought I had finally found someone I could talk to. I hadn't noticed any of that at the time, and honestly, I just wanted to do everything I could to make her happy. She had been so sweet and so kind to me that I didn't realize that I'd worked myself into her trap. I did my best to work on my fashion sense so that she wouldn't be laughed at for hanging out with me, and I worked a part-time job so that I could buy her presents any chance I had. Even when it was time for us to start looking for jobs, I didn't care about how tough a workload I would have to take on. I just searched and searched for a job that paid more and applied to every position possible. When I finally got the job at the company I'm still working at, I told her the good news, and she finally told me that she was ready to start dating me. I still remember how happy I was when she finally became my girlfriend. However, looking back on those memories, I can't help but wonder what made me so desperate to make her my girlfriend. I don't know what was wrong with me. Now I just feel like an idiot for being so simple and letting her take advantage of me. I first felt that something was off about Rena a few weeks after I started working.
Hey, Yuichi. Do you think you can lend me some money?
I had been so busy at work that I barely had any time to myself, so when Rena asked me that when I finally made some time to see her for a few minutes during my lunch break, I was shocked. She had begged me to buy her clothes and bags and accessories on countless occasions, but she had never asked me to give her money before.
I'm really sorry for asking you this out of nowhere. I think I might have told you before, but my family, they're not so rich. We don't have a lot of money to spare, and my mom's been working really hard to pay the bills and everything, but it looks like she's pushed herself too far. And she collapsed the other day. Her doctor told me that she's going to have to stay in hospital for a while until she can recover. But we don't have the money to pay for the hospital fees. She'll just have to go home if we can't pay the medical bill. If I had a job and had some steady income, then I think that I could work things out, but...
After graduating from college, Rena hadn't managed to get any jobs in any of the companies she'd applied to. She had told me that with every best wishes she had read, she lost more hope in ever finding a job in the future. But I heard later on from a mutual friend that she had only applied to 3 companies and felt that it was much too soon for her to start despairing when there were so many chances out there. And 3 months after failing to pass those 3 interviews, she was still dyeing her hair and was still going out to party with her friends every other night. It didn't look like she was looking for any jobs anywhere.
I know that this has got nothing to do with you and that you must be thinking that I'm out of my mind, but please, you're the only one I can rely on. I promise I'll pay you back for this.
She pleaded with me to lend her the money and even showed me an IOU she had written out, desperate to convince me that I could trust her to pay me back. I had been thinking that we would one day get married and could imagine the impression I would leave if I refused to pay the hospital bills of someone who might one day become my mother-in-law. I couldn't say no to Rena and ended up giving her $600 to cover the hospital fees.
Yuichi, thank you so much. Thank you. My mom's going to get better, and it'll all be thanks to you.
I guess it's okay if it's just this one time. That's what I had thought, but I was too naive. Once I had lent her that money, I'd given her an opening to just come back and ask for more. And her requests escalated every time. After her mother had been hospitalized, next it was her grandparents' turn, and then her childhood pet had an accident. I had never met any of the people she'd mentioned were sick or hurt, so I could never confirm whether her claims were really true. And it's not like I wanted to doubt her words. But when I entered college and met Rena, I felt like I had been living my entire life in the darkness. And that Rena was the one that had pulled me out of that darkness and into the light. She had colored my entire world, and I wanted to believe her. I continued to support her financially as much as I possibly could. And then, one day, I received news that would change my life forever.
Yuichi, I'm pregnant.
What?
I think it's from that time, remember? When we didn't use anything?
There was one occasion when I hadn't used any contraceptives because Rena had asked me not to. I tried to tell her that we should use a condom just in case, but I couldn't fight the temptation and had given in. No way.
Aren't you happy? We're going to have a baby.
Of course I was happy to hear that I was going to be a father, but I couldn't help but think that it was too soon for us. I didn't think we were ready, but it was my own responsibility for getting her pregnant, and I didn't want her to give up the baby either. I couldn't run away from the choice I had made. I proposed to her and used all the savings I had to buy an engagement ring for her. By this time, it looked like Rena had completely given up on looking for a job, and I could tell that she was getting ready to become a housewife. To be honest, I didn't mind either way, but I had heard from our friends that she was spending her days going out to clubs and hanging out with friends while I was at work. That's the only thing that made me worry about our future life together, so I asked her to promise me something. Rena, from now on I want you to focus on being here for the baby and for me. Can you help me protect this family by being a housewife? Rena looked delighted and nodded her head over and over. I believed that she wanted the best for our daughter just like I did. But our married life was far from happy and far from being peaceful. She used her pregnancy as an excuse to spend all day lying around watching TV and calling her friends and didn't lift a single finger to do any of the housework. I would come home exhausted from work only to find that she hadn't prepared my share of dinner and had to go to the local convenience store to buy something to eat almost every night. I thought that something would change once the baby was born, but there was no difference. I still had to do all the housework myself. But when I mentioned that it would help if she made dinner for me to eat when I got home, she finally started making dinner despite looking pretty annoyed that she had to get up and do something. The taste was obviously not at the top of her list of priorities. I had been in charge of handling all of the money, so I'd been giving her $450 every month to pay for the groceries and to buy other essentials. You can use the money left over to buy yourself anything you want. I had been setting aside around $100 per month for my own pocket money, and I thought that that was enough. So naturally, I thought I was giving her enough money too. However, Rena wasn't happy.
Do you seriously think that $450 is enough to go on for an entire month?
Then how much more do you want me to give you?
Well, I think $1,000 is fair.
1,000? You're kidding. Of course we can't afford that. You know that I don't have that much money left after we pay the rent. If we spent that much on the groceries and on your pocket money every month, then we'd be in the red forever.
Then why don't you give me all the money you have left after you pay the rent?
We've got to put away some money for our savings, you know that, right?
You just have to work harder and get a pay raise. It's that easy.
And live hand to mouth just so you can buy yourself all the designer items you want? We've got to think about Sakura's future and save money for her education.
So you don't care if I have to give up on the things I want for her sake? I thought you said that you were going to spend the rest of your life making me happy. What about my feelings?
Is money the only thing that makes you happy?
I'm just saying that money is an important factor.
What about us being a team? But no matter how much she told me to give her more money, there was nothing to give. We argued repeatedly about the same issue for several nights in a row. And I finally managed to get her to settle on $600. Unfortunately for me, she made it obvious that she was cutting corners on my dinner, and there were some nights when my portion wouldn't even feed a full-grown hamster.
You can't complain about the food I'm serving you because you don't give me enough money to buy proper groceries. I could probably make something better if you earned more money. You've got to work for it.
I had been working until late into the night in order to earn more overtime pay. But whenever I arrived home after a long day at work, I would find a drunk Reno watching TV and our beautiful daughter crying all on her own in her crib. My feelings for Rena began to fade at an alarming pace, and divorce had crossed my mind several times. I wanted to be free of Rena's thirst for money, but I couldn't bring myself to rip Sakura and her mother apart. So I just endured everything Rena threw at me and did my best not to anger her any further. Funnily enough, Rena had no qualms about packing up and leaving of her own accord. That day, we had been arguing yet again that the money I had been giving her wasn't enough, and that she wanted me to withdraw more money from my account. How is $600 not enough to pay for the groceries? Have you looked at the stuff you serve me? You can't tell me that you've actually spent any money on making that. What are you using that money on?
Why should I report how much I spend and what I spend it on to you? If I say that it's not enough, then it's not enough. If you want me to prepare something better, then give me more money.
I'm not giving you a single cent more this month.
Are you telling me you want me to die of hunger?
How can you twist my words like that? I didn't say that. All of a sudden, Rena flung a set of papers at my face and yelled at the top of her lungs.
I've had enough. I can't take it anymore. I'm leaving. Don't you dare come crying to me when you finally realize that this is all your fault. You did this to us.
Huh? Rena, what about Sakura?
I'm going to live with someone who can really make me happy, who's willing to spend a fortune on me to give me what I want. Were you listening to me? I'm going to live a brand new life with someone who can make me happy. I don't need either of you. You can raise her all on your own, Yuichi.
I can't believe you.
Goodbye, you useless, penniless, pathetic excuse of a husband.
The divorce papers she had thrown at me were already signed and filled in on her side, and I realized that she was being serious about leaving me for good. But even so, I couldn't give up on her that easily for Sakura's sake. So I hired a private detective to investigate Rena's whereabouts and what she was up to. It wasn't long before I found out from the investigation that she was living in the next city and that she was already with another man. According to the private detective, she had been seeing the guy for a few years, which meant that they had been together since before Rena and I were married. She had been living a double life this entire time. The man she had been seeing had started up his own business and had become the director of a successful company. He had a lot of money to spare and had been showering her with gifts even while she had been living with me. She said that she had had enough of me, but the truth was that she had left me and our daughter for money. The moment I found out the motive behind her leaving, I felt my feelings for her sink way below zero. and I didn't hesitate to fill in the rest of the divorce papers and take them to be filed. Of course, I took full custody of Sakura and was prepared to do anything for her sake. However, being a single father was far more intense and severe than I had imagined. My company didn't allow for remote work, and honestly, the work environment wasn't as flexible as other offices were for single parents, so I had to leave first thing in the morning to take Sakura to daycare, and then had to make full use of the few hours of extended daycare they offered. I fell asleep in the middle of reading her a storybook almost every night. I had a tough time adjusting to our new routine, but I hated that I had to leave Sakura at daycare for so long, and knew that she felt a lot more lonely than she ever mentioned. She was suffering a lot more than I was. We lived like that for over a year when I started to feel that it was probably time for me to find a new job. I had reached my limit physically and mentally, and knew that I would collapse from overwork if I didn't take a break. That's when I met my current wife, Nano. She understood the circumstances behind my being a single parent and agreed to marry me despite my previous marriage failing the way it did. She was a successful saleswoman at her own office, but I earned more than she did, and considering that she would have to take time off her job if we ever got pregnant, she decided that she would change the way she worked and resigned from her full-time office job to focus on supporting me and Sakura. Of course, I did my best to do my part of the chores around the house and watched Sakura myself whenever I could. I realized that this was the kind of married life I wanted, where I could trust that Nano had my back, and she could believe that I would be there for her, too. It didn't take long for us to get pregnant with a child of our own, and our son Yuki was born. I felt that I was the happiest man alive, and was lucky that I had such a loving wife and family. Do you understand now? You don't belong in this family anymore. I'm not interested in getting back together with you, and Sakura doesn't need you.
You've got to think about this. You can't be serious about choosing this flat-chested, four-eyed witch over me. Ugh! Now I'm mad.
Nano doesn't need big breasts. Her boobs have done enough work giving Yuki milk to keep him happy and healthy. At least that's far more than you ever did for Sakura. You gave up breastfeeding and started drinking 2 months after she was born. You don't have the right to talk about her breasts like that.
Honey, I understand you're trying to compliment me, but I'm split between feeling happy and feeling sad.
Huh? I'm sorry, Nano, I'm sorry.
But I'm Sakura's mother. I gave birth to her, so I have a right to see her.
Says the person who abandoned her as a baby.
But Sakura must want to see me. She must be missing me. You can't keep her away from me, Yuichi. Where is she? You've got to bring her here. I'm not leaving until I see her. Mommy? Mommy? Yuki, I want you to stay with your big sister in the living room, okay?
Who is that, Mommy?
I'm not interested in a pig-faced brat like you. Hey, don't talk to my son like that. What are you, a 5-year-old? I just want to see Sakura. That's why I'm here.
Huh? You want to see me?
Sakura, it's you, isn't it? You've gotten so big. I came all the way to see you, sweetie. Mommy's home, Sakura. You must have missed me. Come on, come and give Mommy a big hug.
Mommy?
Sakura?
Mommy?
No freaking way. I guess you must be nervous. Sakura, Mommy's over here. Come over here and hug me.
Mommy? Who's this old lady? She's scaring me.
Old lady? I think she's a friend of your daddy's, but... Of course not. I'm your mommy, Sakura. Me. Look at me.
Huh? But my mommy is Mommy. I don't have any other mommy.
That's right, Sakura. Mommy is Mommy, isn't she? Yuichi? Yuichi?
As you can see, she neither misses you nor wants to see you. I don't want you coming here ever again.
Please, open up. You've got to let me in. Please. I just need to borrow some money. That's all.
Why don't you go and ask your rich boyfriend for money? You don't have to come and beg me.
They're all gone. They all left me for younger women the second I turned 30. They won't answer my calls or any of my texts, even though I was the one that gave them all a good time.
You're pathetic, Rena. You've only got yourself to blame.
I don't have any money to pay the bills or any food. If you're not going to give me any money, then you better watch out for your children, Yuichi. You'll be sorry.
Are you threatening me? If that's what you've got in mind, then I won't hesitate to take the necessary steps to stop you.
Go ahead. Call the police if that's what you're thinking. I'll run away before they arrive, and you'll be at fault for wasting police time. Ha! In the first place, do you really think that the police will make an arrest for something as trivial as stepping into your house? They can't touch me for something like that.
Yeah, but I'll be asking them to arrest you for conning me.
Huh?
Did you really think I hadn't noticed? I've known for years that you were using the money you said was for your sick mom, sick grandparents, and pet for yourself to go out on shopping sprees. I hired a private investigator for exactly that reason.
What are you talking about?
Don't play dumb with me. I've got the evidence I need from that investigation to take you to court and win my case. You can't escape.
Do you really think a bluff like that is going to work on me? Have you heard of the statute of limitations? That stuff is all in the past.
Yeah, it's already been 3 years since I found out about where that money was really going, so I won't be able to make a case in a civil court.
See? It's useless for you to start threatening me. There's no way you can take me to court.
I think it's a little too early for you to get carried away. I said that I can't make a case in civil court, but I can still take a case to a criminal court since they allow a 7-year period.
What? Then that means that you can still sue me for that?
Apparently, it's common practice for cases involving con jobs to be resolved using compensation. I don't mind going with that if you have the money to pay me damages for all the money you took from me. If you can pay me $15,000, which is the total of money you took from me, plus compensation.
If I had that kind of money, then I wouldn't be here right now, idiot.
You've finally shown your true colors, Rena. You were never in love with me. You were just in love with my money, and you don't care about Sakura either.
You should be grateful to me for sticking by you for so long. I was the one that raised you into a money-making machine. You were just a sad, lame loser before you met me.
Yeah, I'm grateful to you. Thanks to being tricked by you and your thirst for money, I was able to get a good job with a great salary and can support my family without any worries.
Then why can't you just give me a little?
But the only reason why I'm still able to work and haven't collapsed from exhaustion is thanks to Nano. She sacrificed her career to support me and Sakura and has been here for me whenever I needed her. I don't have anything to thank you about for that. If anything, most of the memories I have of my time with you are of nothing but stress and fatigue. If you're going to keep on bothering me and my family, then I really will report you to the police and take you to court for stealing money from me. Oh, but maybe you might prefer that. If you get arrested, then at least you'll get a roof over your head and get 3 meals a day. It's better than nothing, right?
No! There's no way I'd prefer that. You can't do that to me.
Rena spun on her heel and ran away before I could say another word to her.
Mommy, do you think that scary old lady will come back?
No, she won't ever come back. Don't worry. Right, honey?
Yeah, she's never coming back here. Come on, let's eat some cake and watch TV.
Yay! Cake! Cake! Cake!
I don't know what happened to Rena after that. It seems that she hasn't returned to her parents' house, so she's probably found herself another boyfriend and is living off of them until they get tired of her as well. I wonder why she doesn't get a job of her own, but I guess she's too proud to come out and tell any employer the truth about why she hasn't been working for the past 10 years. I'm really fortunate that I met Nano and that we've been happily married for the past few years. I'm gonna keep on protecting my family just like I always have, no matter what may come my way.